What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another UFC breakdown and predictions video. This time for UFC Vegas 98, Brandon Royval versus Tatsuro Taira. Now, if you guys haven't been watching the Contender Series fight companions that I've been doing the past couple of weeks, you'll notice that I haven't really posted anything other than those live streams. The reason being is UFC Paris was awful for me. I was very disappointed with how I ended up making my predictions, and it wasn't just me. A lot of betting experts we saw on Twitter, they were absolutely destroyed for that event. A lot of MMA analysts on YouTube also did a terrible job with their predictions. So it's not like, woe is me, I did a bad job. I got overwhelmed with like trying to break down everything so analytically. I had the Contender Series fights as well, and I just was disappointed with how I ended up doing. So I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a break, find my motivation again, and here we are for a bounce back week. UFC Vegas 98. I didn't break anything down for UFC 307 the past couple of episodes, but I am back. I'm going to be posting consistently once again, and I didn't really pick a good card to come back to because despite some of the odds being as wide as they are, there's a lot of toss-up fights that could literally go either way. So I'm hoping we can have a nice bounce-back week. Let's go for that sweep. I'm super excited to get back to these breakdowns. I will be doing them a little bit differently now, though. I'm not going to go in-depth with every single fight because I realized MMA fights are nearly impossible to predict exactly how they're going to go. Some fights I will go more in-depth. Others I'm going to just kind of bang out quickly. Regardless, we're back, and I'm excited. So let's finally get into the breakdowns. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and comment down below your thoughts on the UFC Vegas 98 card. Starting off the card, we got some returning flyweights and a UFC debuter as well. Some Dana White's Contender Series alumni. We got Clayton Carpenter taking on Lucas Rocha. Now, I was originally going to pick Rocha for a couple of reasons here, and one of them is the activity. Clayton Carpenter has not been in a fight in the past 2 years, and even though Rocha hasn't fought since his Contender Series appearance a year ago, he has been a little bit more active. But I kind of dove a little bit deeper, did some tape study, and I am actually going to go with Clayton Carpenter here. He is an absolute dog. The guy is tough as nails. When he's striking on the feet, he does a great job entering the pocket with good movement and explosive strikes. He also has decent power. He only has 2 career knockouts in his 7 MMA fights, but he can hurt his opponents. He's got some solid power, and he also has a solid ground game. That's one thing that I really like in this specific matchup, and we'll talk about the why when we get to the Rocha side, but he has solid entries with the takedowns. He has great transitions once the fight gets there to avoid his opponent from either sweeping him or getting back to their feet, and he has heavy top pressure, which helps in that regard as well. Now, he can struggle at range, though. We saw that in his Contender Series fight against Edgar Chairez, but range is not something he's going to have to worry about going up against Rocha because he's such a smaller opponent. Now, on the Lucas Rocha side, I actually really like the guy's striking. He has a solid skill set, nice low kicks, he has quick hands, and he has decent volume. The big problem is, though, he can get taken down. It's not necessarily like open mat takedowns because he has a fantastic sprawl. And even if he does get taken down, he has a great ability to get back to his feet. We saw that in his Contender Series fight against Davy Bittencourt. In the first round, he was getting absolutely ragdolled. He got taken down like 6 or 7 times, but he popped back up almost immediately every single time. But Bittencourt does not have the top pressure and control that Carpenter does. Now, Rocha, after getting ragdolled in his Contender Series fight, he put Bittencourt away with a beautifully timed knee, and that was another kind of reason why I liked the Rocha side, because I actually picked against him because of that lack of takedown defense. But that was that kind of a beautifully placed knee and timed knee. It's not something that comes around very often, and I don't see him landing that on Clayton Carpenter. Clayton Carpenter should also have the cardio advantage as well, so I will take him to get this done. I think he can hang on the feet, and I can trust him to mix in those takedowns where Lucas Rocha lacks the skills to avoid it. So I will go with Clayton Carpenter. Let's keep rolling to the next fight. We got another debuting fighter, Cody Haddon, going up against Dan Argueta. Now, if you guys have been watching the Contender Series, you'll actually recognize the Cody Haddon name. He fought a month and a half ago. I believe it was August 10th. I just checked this out. August 20th, he fought another prospect named Billy Brand, who I actually picked to defeat Cody Haddon, but I was pleasantly surprised with Haddon's performance. This guy rear naked choked Billy Brand in 3 minutes and 9 seconds, and you're going to see that outcome, and you're going to see he must have gotten the takedown and just had a grappling advantage. That is not what happened. This guy came in, had beautiful striking, put Billy Brand down, and being the opportunistic fighter that he is, he ended up grabbing the back and choking out Billy Brand. It was an extremely impressive performance, and I know it was only about a month and a half ago, but it's good to see him get into the octagon so quickly. He barely took any damage, if any at all. It was a dominating performance, and he's 26 years old. So why not just get right back in there? Or make your debut early, get that out of the way, and then you can start climbing the rankings of this bantamweight division. The problem is he's going up against a somewhat vet of the UFC at this point, Argueta. This is going to be his 6th UFC fight, but Argueta really hasn't been too impressive since he got here. He's 1-2 with 2 no contests. He should really be 2-2 with 1 no contest, but if you go, he beat Nick Aguirre. Okay, he lost to Damon Jackson actually in his UFC debut, which is not the best look if you're going to amount to anything in the bantamweight division. Then he comes back, beats Nick Aguirre. Nick Aguirre is arguably not even UFC caliber. Then he comes in, no contest against Ronnie Lawrence, but he was dominating Ronnie Lawrence there. The reason why it was a no contest was because he had him in a submission. I believe it was a choke, and Ronnie never ended up tapping. It was a premature stoppage, but he was dominating that fight. Miles Johns, no contest. He lost a unanimous decision fight there, but I think Johns was caught with like a banned substance. It was like ADHD medication or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, lost that fight, no contest. In his most recent fight, he fought another prospect like Cody Haddon from the Contender Series named Gene Matsumoto, and he was doing great. Dan Argueta's best skill set is that wrestling, the wrestling pressure, the ability to constantly be in the face of his opponent, work in those takedowns, rip him down to the ground, and either find himself in advantageous grappling positions to find submissions or just burn out the clock and find himself with a decision victory. The problem is because he carries around all that muscle and he has that high wrestling pressure and pace, he gasses out, and that's exactly how he lost to Gene Matsumoto. He was doing fantastic. He was quote-unquote dominating Matsumoto in that fight. He was getting takedowns whenever he wanted. He was constantly in the face of Gene, not allowing him to mount any sort of offense whatsoever. But the problem is he got sloppy, he got tired, he got caught in a guillotine choke and got choked out cold just at the end of that second round. So I just have a problem with the pick here because I don't really look at odds before I make the pick, and I was originally going to go with Dan Argueta, and he is the underdog. And it's always good to go with an underdog like Argueta because you know you can trust him to implement his game plan and find success doing it, because not a lot of people can fend off the physically imposing wrestling pressure that Argueta brings. And Cody Haddon making his UFC debut, he's young. He just fought a month and a half ago. There's a lot of things that make you think that Argueta is going to be the favorite because he has that UFC experience. He hasn't fought for 6 months, this, that, and the other. But I think I am going to go with Cody Haddon here. I don't like how Argueta gasses. Cody Haddon has a solid ground game as well. I think he'll be able to get back to the feet if Argueta gets it there, gets it down to the mat. And I actually think Haddon has better hands. So I will go with Cody Haddon. It is going to be a little more on the reluctant side. I'm hoping maybe a lot of people see the live underdog price for Argueta, put some money on him. Maybe we can get a better tag for Cody Haddon. But maybe I just avoid this from a betting perspective as a whole because it's a UFC debut. But I will probably go with Cody Haddon here to get a win in his UFC debut. Let's move on to a heavyweight bout. Junior Tafa is taking on a UFC newcomer, another UFC debut. This is 3 UFC debuts in a row to start off this card. Going up against Sharaf. This is actually brand new tonight. Chris Barnett pulled out of the fight. I think it has something to do with the hurricane or something. There was damages to his home, so he couldn't fight. Me and my cousin were actually talking about it, and my cousin brought up, he's like, well, you would think that in a position like that, you would probably just go fight and maybe make some money to recuperate some of the losses from the damages that you got. Regardless, it's just a weird decision, I guess. Maybe he's not in a good mental space, but you got to make some money now. This is a crucial time for you. Regardless, Chris Barnett pulls out. In comes Sean Sharaf on extremely short notice. He's taking on Junior Tafa. We already know what Junior Tafa is. The guy is a slick kickboxer with decent power, but he's an absolute scrub if he has to do anything with wrestling or grappling. Thankfully for him, Sean Sharaf is not somebody that's going to come in and wrestle him. So this is going to be a striking match. I haven't been able to find basically anything on Sharaf. I've seen like a couple of clips, and it looks like he has lots of power. But he's been fighting absolute bumps. The guy in his UFC debut, he fought someone that's 1-4. And then not UFC debut, pro debut. Fought somebody that's 1-4. Came in, beat somebody in 9 seconds who was making their debut. And then he beat somebody that's 0-1. He's coming off of a win September 6th, so just over a month ago. 3-1-1. So I don't think he's fought anybody to the caliber of Junior Tafa. I think Junior Tafa is going to out-technique him, land some shots, and put Sharaf away, probably in the first round. Because who knows if Sean Sharaf is even ready. He's taking this on extremely short notice. But honestly, you can't trust Junior Tafa. If this was somebody that has a wrestling background or grappling or this, that, and the other, I think I would probably take them. I would take the underdog shot in Sharaf. But this guy's going to come in and strike with a better striker. And that's going to be it for me. So Junior Tafa probably gets this done first round KO. Let's keep moving. We got a welterweight bout. Niko Price going up against Themba Gorimbo. Now let me turn the page here on my book. I basically know what I already want to say here, but just in case, just in case. So I am going to go with Gorimbo here. Niko Price is always, he's one of those guys that should always have a job with the UFC because he comes into the octagon to scrap every single time. The guy's a dog. He constantly moves forward. He constantly wants to fight. He's throwing hands. And he just brings that entertainment value, that exciting fighting nature that us UFC fans love. But he's going up against somebody like Themba Gorimbo, who has developed a skill set in which he can, what am I trying to say here? He's developed enough skills to defeat people like Niko Price. And Gorimbo, at this point in his career, probably takes it a lot more serious than Niko Price. There's been a lot of things behind the scenes that people helping Gorimbo find success in his MMA career, and I think that Gorimbo just has that weight on his shoulders where he wants to make sure that these people that have helped him aren't their resources aren't being wasted, as I should say. But I actually picked Niko Price to beat Alex Morono in his last fight, so it's not like I'm not a Niko Price guy. It's not like I'm just picking against him because I think he's bad. I think he's a solid guy. He comes in with lots of pressure, and he's extremely tough. Price's best attribute is actually his toughness and his willingness to scrap. He's always down to put on a show for the fans, like we've already mentioned, and sometimes it may work in his favor, but other times it doesn't. He's 8-7 in the UFC, so he's hit or miss. Now, Gorimbo has shown growth in his game, like we mentioned, and his willingness is to do what he needs to do to get it done, to get that win. We saw that in his last fight against Ramiz Brahimaj. Just took him down, rode out that victory. Against Pete Rodriguez, he let his hands go and knocked him out in 32 seconds. Takashi Sato fight, took him down, grinded out that unanimous decision win. His UFC debut is alarming, though, because he lost a round 2 submission to AJ Fletcher where he got guillotined. So it was like maybe a lack of skills when he was going in for a takedown, whatnot. But I just think Gorimbo gets this done. I can see him closing the distance, doing a lot of work in the clinch along the fence, and even probably scoring some takedowns against Niko. A submission victory for Gorimbo is live. It is live. I'm not going to throw the house on it, but Gorimbo has 6 submission victories. Yes, he hasn't submitted anybody in the UFC yet, but Nico Price has been submitted only once. All right, well, maybe not. All right. Maybe he doesn't get the submission, but depending on the odds, I might dabble. Regardless, I think Gorimbo gets this done. I just think he's the better fighter in this at this point in their careers. I think he's taking it a little more seriously, but never count Nico Price out of a fight. The guy's an absolute dog, and he's coming to scrap. Next up, we got Jonathan Pearce taking on Pat Sabatini. Now, this fight, I'm actually a big Jonathan Pearce fan. I think he has, even though he has people don't really like crotch sniffers, and I agree. I'm not really a fan of it either. I'm talking about you, Mario Batista. Anyway, Jonathan Pearce has that like Khabib-ish style wrestling where it's not like he just wrestles and works for control. He wrestles and wants to damage you while he gets there. He looks for the finishes. He looks for the TKOs. He looks for the submissions. And I like that. That's the why I like Jonathan Pearce so much, because he comes in and actually wants to fight, not just hug his opponents. Now, this specific matchup with Sabatini, it is a battle of the wrestler versus the grappler. Sabatini has 18 career victories, and I think like 14 of them, 12 of them are submissions. The guy is opportunistic in the grappling, and that's a big thing for this specific matchup, because Jonathan Pearce, 6 losses, as you guys see. 3 of those are submissions, all right? You guys will probably remember that Brito fight where he was absolutely dominating, and then during one of the get-ups from Brito, he just wrapped up a ninja choke extremely fast, choked him out. So that's scary, because Pat Sabatini, being as opportunistic as he is in the grappling, can probably snatch up something, because Jonathan Pearce is undoubtedly going to be going for takedowns. That's just what he does. That's his style. Now, if he actually decides to throw it out the window, I think he has the advantage on the feet here. I genuinely do. Pat Sabatini's striking is not good. And to avoid getting caught in something, I think Jonathan Pearce might as well just keep this standing. He went toe-to-toe with David Onama basically in his last fight. He did lose that fight, but Onama is a dangerous, heavy-hitting striker that Pat Sabatini just isn't. Now, Pearce should win this fight. He has better striking, like we continuously mention, and he has that nonstop pressure. He has that suffocating chain wrestling style, but I don't think he should really... Maybe he should do that early on, but as the fight continues, when he's getting a little more tired, maybe he avoids it so he doesn't have another Brito situation where he's a little bit sloppier during one of the transitions. But I'm just repeating myself at this point. The only way I see Sabatini winning here is if Pearce gets sloppy during those wrestling and grappling exchanges and Sabatini finds a submission. Otherwise, I think Pearce gets this done. I think he is alive for a TKO victory as well. I can see him eventually getting Sabatini down, because as much as I would rather him not do that, I think he will, because that's just how he fights. And Sabatini has been chinned before. Yes, Diego Lopez chinned him, so I'm going to give him a pass on that one. But Damon Jackson chinned him in 1 minute and 9 seconds. That can't be happening. So I don't trust Sabatini's chin. I do worry about him wrapping up a submission against Pearce, though. But I will pick Jonathan Pearce to get things done. Let's move on, because I am kind of loafing with this breakdown. Now, this one should be fast. CJ Vergara taking on Ramazan Temirov. Now, CJ Vergara, he's another guy that is always coming to scrap. He has that exciting style, but the problem is he's hit or miss in the UFC. He's 3-3. He's a decent generalist who can give a lot of people problems, and he's an absolute dog. He has no quit in him. We've seen him get hurt multiple times, but he just comes back and comes to fight, keeps moving forward, and just continues scrapping. So you love somebody like CJ Vergara. He brings that entertainment value, but he's going up against another UFC debuter. This is like, what, number 4 out of the first 6 fights? I watched Temirov. The guy's an animal. The guy's a savage. He's powerful, explosive, nonstop pressure. He's got exciting striking, 100% intent every single time he throws. He has spinning attacks, lots of leg kicks. He does get a little bit wild at times, though, and that it can get him in trouble. In his last fight, he got dropped because of that. But and during those wild sequences, he can get tagged. Like I just mentioned, he was dropped in his last fight. So that kind of worries me. But CJ Vergara is not really known for his heavy hitting power. And I just think Temirov is the better fighter. I think if he lands one of those big strikes from Vergara against Vergara, I think he'll be the first one to put Vergara away. I think he does. If he lands one big shot, we've seen Vergara hurt. Temirov's got crazy power for flyweight. And I just think he'll put Vergara away, basically. So that's my pick. Temirov by KO at some point. Maybe early second, I'm not sure. But Temirov by KO. Let's just keep rolling. We got Chidi Njokuani going up against Jared Gooden. Now here's one of those fights where it's like I'm going with the lesser opponent. Chidi Njokuani is the rightful favorite. Skill for skill, he is the better fighter. And Njokuani has slick Muay Thai striking and has power to put people away. There's just a few problems with being confident in going with picking Njokuani here. My nose is itchy. Number one, he's 35 now, okay? And he has openly said that he despises cutting down to 170. The guy is 6'3". He's massive. It's hard for him to get down to welterweight. He's openly said this. Number two, he's going up against a newly motivated Jared Gooden, all right? And by newly motivated, I mean this guy was in the UFC, went, let's see here, got cut. When did he get cut? He got cut in October 2021, where he went 1-3. Okay, he comes back on short notice, I think, to fight Carlston Harris, lost. That's okay, because he comes back and he defeats Wellington Turman in that second round. This guy realizes his opportunity. He's newly motivated. He got back into the UFC, which is the goal once you get kicked out. So you know he's going to want to come in and win so he can stay. Also, he's shown he's a dog. We saw that in the Wellington Turman fight. He has no quit. And he has KO power. And that's a big thing against Njokuani, because Njokuani has been KO'd twice in his last 5 fights. So he can be chinned. And that was up a weight class where he's not dehydrating himself so much. Against Alexachuk at middleweight. Against Robocop at middleweight. I'll give him a pass against Robocop because Gregory Rodriguez is a freaking savage. So I'll give him a pass there. But he's been chinned up a weight class when he's not as dehydrated, doesn't have to cut as much weight. Yes, harder hitters, but Jared Gooden has KO power. Anyway, and in those last 5 fights, he's 2-3. His performances have been less than impressive. We'll go back to that 5 fights ago. Knocks out Dushko Todorovic in the first round. Todorovic has become a journeyman-esque kind of like put him up against UFC debuters, which actually is happening soon, and we'll get there eventually, but not for this video. Finishes Todorovic. Okay, not crazy. Then he gets knocked out by Robocop, Gregory Rodriguez. I said I'll give him a pass for that one because Rodriguez is a savage. His next fight after that, split decision loss to Albert Duraev. No urgency whatsoever to get things done on the judges' scorecards or just even to finish Duraev. No urgency whatsoever. That's not a good look. Comes in his next fight, gets knocked out in the first round by Alexachuk. Alexachuk's only path to victory is a bomb landing, and that's exactly what happened. In his most recent fight, March 2024, a split decision against Reese McKee. No urgency in that fight as well to stand out against for the judges. Nothing, no sense of urgency. Jared Gooden is going to come out, throw heavy. If he lands on Njokuani, I can see him hurting him, dropping him, either following up with some TKO or even wrapping us up a submission like he did in his last fight against Turman. Yes, skill for skill, Njokuani's better. He's got power. He's a slick Muay Thai striker. And Gooden can get put away as well. He's been knocked out, 5 times. That's Chidi. Yeah, that's another thing. Chidi's been knocked out 5 times in his career. Gooden has been knocked out twice. And more recently to Impa Kasanganay, who's actually a really good fighter. So I'll give him a pass there. But before that, he got beat up in June 2019 where he got KO'd. Regardless, so he's not as chinny. Chidi is chinny. Good one. All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to go with Jared Gooden. He's got the power. Chidi lacks urgency. I know Gooden's going to come out there and throw hands. And that was a lot of time spent just to say that I think Gooden knocks him out or gets a finish after chinning him. So I'm going to go with Jared Gooden. Very reluctantly, though. He is the underdog. I have little faith in Jared Gooden at this point, but I also have little faith in Njokuani, and I'd rather take the dog shot if I have no faith in either fighter. So we're going to keep things rolling. We got Josh Fremd taking on Abdul Razak Alhassan. Now, I am not going to be picking Josh Fremd probably ever because the guy isn't very good. He's just not that good. I'm sorry to say it. I know you're an actual UFC fighter, and I'm just making videos about them, Josh, but you're just not that good, man. I'm going to go with Alhassan. There's a large size discrepancy on both sides here, and by that I mean Josh Fremd is 6 inches taller than Abdul Razak Alhassan. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage, so it's going to be hard for Alhassan to find a home for his strikes. With that being said, though, Alhassan is also an absolute tank. So there's a size advantage on his side because he's so much more physically imposing to a skinny, lanky guy like Josh Fremd. So there's a discrepancy on both sides, no matter how you look at it, okay? Josh Fremd will find some success fighting long and at range against somebody like Alhassan. If he sticks out that jab, maintains distance, maybe throws out some teep kicks to the body, to kind of, or some push kicks to maintain that range, I think he will find success there. I'm not saying Alhassan absolutely runs through him, but I think that success will be short-lived because somebody like Alhassan, even though he falls in love with his striking, and he has 12 wins with 12 KOs, in Josh Fremd's last fight, Andre Petroski laid out a beautiful blueprint on how to beat him. And that is get him down to the ground because Josh Fremd can't get back to his feet. And somebody as strong and physically imposing as Alhassan can get him down to the ground and keep him there and land heavy ground and pound strikes because he's such a powerful dude. And I think he can get it done that way because he has, even though he only has a 38% takedown accuracy, okay, Josh Fremd has a 30% takedown defense. And so not only that, people can take him down. Somebody like Andre Petroski had 3 takedowns against Fremd, okay? Over a 3-round unanimous decision victory. That means he got him down basically once every single round and Fremd could not get up after. Jamie Pickett took down Fremd twice. Trayshawn Gore took him down 3 times. Dude, Alhassan can take him down, and I think that's his best path so that he doesn't have to deal with the length of Josh Fremd on the feet. I know Alhassan probably wants to KO him. He has 12 KOs, but you can also get a KO on the ground. Get him down, rain elbows, ground and pound strikes. That's how I think Alhassan gets it done. Let's move on. We got a welterweight bout. Daniel Rodriguez taking on Alex Morono. This honestly seems like a no-brainer. I think D-Rod gets this done. Honestly. Morono is extremely inconsistent and he's untrustworthy. I cannot rely on him to come in and implement the best path to victory in his fights. Against somebody like Daniel Rodriguez, take him down. I'm not saying he can't work back to his feet, but take him down. The guy is a boxer. He's a brawler. He's a savage. On the feet, he's got lots of volume. You're not going to outbox this guy, especially being Alex Morono. So if Morono comes in with that wrestling game plan, he actually has a really underrated underrated ground game. I think Morono can find a lot of success doing that. The problem is I don't trust that he's going to. I think he's going to sit there and strike with Rodriguez. And that's going to spell disaster for him. All right? Let's just look at the numbers here. This is one thing I actually really wanted to mention. Kelvin Gastelum took down Rodriguez 4 times in their fight, okay? And Rodriguez still outstruck him 127-112. That is insane. That's insanity. He got taken down 4 times and he still outstruck him, okay? He's got the volume advantage. He's the better striker. I think he's probably got more power than Morono. And even though Morono has a underrated wrestling and grappling game, Rodriguez isn't going to take the fight to the ground. It's up to Morono to do so. And here's the thing I was saying about him being untrustworthy. Alex Morono only has one takedown in his... Sorry, where did I... One takedown in his last 9 fights. That's not true. He has 2 takedowns in his last 9 fights. One of them was against Nico Price in his last fight, where Nico Price took him down 5 times. Okay, and before that, he took down Joaquin Buckley 1 time. But other than that, he hasn't taken down anybody since Anthony Pettis back in 2020, where he lost that fight anyway. Got outstruck. So yeah, that's basically my whole theory on this fight. I don't trust Morono to come in with a wrestling game plan. And he can't implement that grappling unless he does that, because D-Rod isn't going to take him down. D-Rod's got the volume, he's got the boxing, he's got the hands. I just think D-Rod gets this done. Like I said, I think it's a no-brainer. I might come to regret that decision, because D-Rod is 37 at this point. He hasn't really looked good in his past few fights. I think he's on a 3-fight skid, but I think he gets back on track here. I genuinely do. D-Rod for the win. Let's go. Let's move on to the next fight. This is actually an exciting strawweight fight. We got Julia Polastri going up against Corey McKenna. Now, this is short notice for Polastri. That needs to be mentioned, because Corey McKenna was supposed to take on Polyana Viana. Now, Corey is definitely a skilled fighter everywhere. She's got good technique on the feet. She has that wrestling and grappling as well. But I'm going to pick Polastri here, even despite the short notice, because there's a few differences for me in these two women. Polastri is also a very well-rounded fighter. Maybe she's not as technical and clean as McKenna, but she can be dangerous anywhere the fight goes, whether it's on the feet, grappling, doesn't matter. She has a great overall skill set as well as McKenna. Now, the two differences. One, Polastri provides more of a danger factor. I think she's more live to get finishes in her fights. She can do it by KO. She can do it by submission. Also, she is an absolute dog. I'm not saying McKenna has quit in her, but Polastri's she's not going to get deterred by not finding success. She's not going to be content with getting taken down or getting pushed back on the... She's going to continuously move forward, continuously provide action, and I just think that's going to slowly break down McKenna in this fight. I was very impressed with Polastri's fight against Josephine Knudsen. Even though she lost that fight, I was impressed. I thought Knudsen was going to come in and dominate like she usually does, but Polastri put up one hell of a fight and gave Knudsen a run for her money. I just think she has more of a danger factor. Like I said, McKenna may be the cleaner fighter. I just think Polastri's going to just slowly break her down by just never going away. I think that's how this fight's going to go. I actually really like Polastri as a fighter. I have nothing against McKenna. I think she's a skillful fighter as well. But I think Polastri gets this done. Corey McKenna's still pretty young, and she's evolving her game. But I just don't really rate much of her success in the UFC. She's 3-2, okay? She beat Kay Hansen, no longer in the UFC. Lost to Elise Reed. That is a huge red flag, okay? Miranda Granger, no longer in the UFC. Cheyenne Vlismas, is she even in the UFC anymore? She hasn't fought since then, since December 2022, so who knows? And then she lost to Jacqueline Emerim, which I'm not gonna hold that against her too much. Emerim is actually a really dangerous fighter. Regardless, I understand Polastri really hasn't done anything in the UFC for me to be saying, oh, McKenna's UFC resume isn't impressive. But I just think Polastri she provides more of a danger factor. Blah, blah, blah. I've already mentioned this multiple times so far. Julia Polastri gets this done. Let's keep rolling. We go to the featured fight of the night, and I guess I should be doing that whole. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and comment down below what your thoughts on the UFC Vegas 98 event. But here we are at the featured fight of the night, and what is there really to say? Grant Dawson should just get this done in typical Grant Dawson fashion. Get those takedowns, control his opponents, grab the back, threaten submissions, and either eventually get one or just ride out a decision victory. Grant Dawson is as exciting as watching paint dry. And I get it. You're in the business of winning. I understand that. And it might be annoying for his opponents, but he wins. He's 21-2, dude. The guy wins. He knows how to. And he's going up against Rafa Garcia, who's 16-3. This guy also wins. Garcia's a dog. Even if he's a bloody mess, he doesn't give a shit. He keeps moving forward. He keeps scrapping. He has decent takedown defense, I guess. And Grant Dawson's got like sub 40% takedown accuracy. So it's not like this guy's some crazy wrestler. But the problem is he's so annoying with it. He's just constantly chain wrestling, and until he gets it, and to get that takedown, and he will get it. He will get it. And he will get it against Rafa Garcia as well. And that's basically my breakdown for that fight. I think Grant Dawson just wins in typical Grant Dawson fashion. Even though Rafa Garcia has a 79% takedown defense, that's insane, dude. That's insane. And then a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, Grant Dawson doesn't have a chin. He got knocked out by a jab. And yeah, I agree. Me and my cousin talked about it. That's not good. You can't be getting knocked out by a jab from Bobby Green. But the thing is, Rafa Garcia has 1 KO victory in his career. Okay, 1. That's insane, dude. He has 16 wins, and you've only knocked out 1 person. I can't worry about Grant Dawson's chin from somebody that's only knocked 1 person out. And when was that? Let's go all the way back to September 2018, where he knocked out somebody called LaRue Burley, who was 8-3 at the time and is now 11-4 and has lost by KO twice. So yeah, that was way outside of the UFC. That's it. Grant Dawson probably gets this done on the scorecards. Rafa Garcia has never been finished. So let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. Oh my God, I didn't change the name. William Gomis apparently is taking on Jun Young Park. Just kidding. It's Brad Tavares. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable I am. How many other people have I probably... Anyway, Brad Tavares taking on Jun Young Park. And I'm going to pick Jun Young Park to get things done. Brad Tavares is really long in the tooth. Yes, he's 36 years old, but he has like 22 UFC fights. He hasn't been really looking good lately. He's been knocked out 5 times in his career. I think the years are catching up to him. The mileage is catching up to him. And you're going up against somebody like Jun Young Park, who's the Iron Turtle. The guy's he's a dog. He never stops scrapping. He's always going to be there. He has a good overall skill set as well. He may struggle with getting taken down, as we've seen in his last fight against Andre Muniz, but Muniz is actually a very dangerous grappler, and even though he was able to take Park down 11 times, that means that Park continuously got back up, stayed safe, and didn't get submitted. He arguably won that fight as well. It was a split decision loss to Andre Muniz, but Park did a great job in that fight as well. Did more damage, did get controlled a lot though, but I don't see Brad Tavares doing that. I think Brad Tavares is more of a striking fighter. He hasn't gotten a takedown since fighting Israel Adesanya back in 2018. And yeah, his wins since then, his UFC wins aren't really that impressive. Like, I'm not trying to be like a hater. Like, good for you, but like, let's just go over his fights. All right, got knocked out by Gregory Rodriguez. I will give him a pass for that one because RoboCop is a savage. But before most recent win, Chris Weidman, August 2023. This was a returning Weidman. He did a great job chewing up the leg. It was a solid victory. Okay? Gets knocked out by Bruno Silva in the first round. Not a good look. Sorry. Bruno Silva's a savage too, but like, he has really fallen off. Dricus du Plessis, he's the champion. I'll give him a pass there. Beats Omari Akhmedov by split decision, who is no longer in the UFC. He's in the PFL now. Okay? Beats Antonio Carlos Jr., who is no longer in the UFC. He is also in the PFL now. Okay? And then he loses to Shabazian in the first round. If you just get out of that first round, you can beat Shabazian. But he couldn't do it. Loses to Adesanya, former champ. I'll give him a pass there. Beats Krzysztof Jotko, not in the UFC anymore. Beats Tylis Leites, not in the UFC anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I just think Jun Young Park's going to outdog him. I think he's going to Like, he could probably mix in the takedowns. I just think, I don't know, man. I just don't think Tavares is that good. That's all. That's it. Yeah, I think that's what I think it comes down to. I think Jun Young Park just outdogs Brad Tavares. Let's move on to the main event of the evening. We got Brandon Royval going up against Tatsuro Taira. Now this is a sick main event. I'm pumped they got this done because it has actual importance for the division as well. This has title implications. This could be like Royval has fought Pantoja. Dude, actually, this is another thing I wanted to mention. It's just a crazy stat, okay? Because we see Royval, and we're like, oh, is he that good? Yeah, he is that good. This guy is 7-3, 6-3 in the UFC. His only 3 losses. You guys ready for this? 2 are to Pantoja, the current champion, and 1 is to Brandon Morono, who was the former champion, and that was from a shoulder injury at the end of the first round. It wasn't even like Morono like dusted him or something like that. He injured himself. Okay, those are his 3 losses. He's defeated Tim Elliott in the second round. That's impressive. That's a vet that not a lot of people can get through. Kai Kara France choked him out. That was a banger of a fight. Okay, beat Bontarine, beat Matt Schnell. Everybody beats Matt Schnell. Knocked out Matthias Nicolau before Nicolau's chin went, which is impressive. And he's coming off a split decision victory where he looked fantastic against a former champion in Brandon Morono. Now he is going up against Tatsuro Taira, who hasn't fought the same level of competition, but has looked great. He's 6-0. He's 24 years old. He's got that exciting grappling style. He's developed good hands as well. He put away Carlos Hernandez 2 fights ago, who's never been knocked out before. This is exciting, man. Tatsuro Taira is a very promising prospect out of Japan. I'm happy, thank you. You know, he does that at the end of his. That's what I'm hoping I hear at the end of the night. I think Tatsuro Taira gets it done, but I completely understand the Royval pick. He is the underdog as well. The guy is just an absolute dog. He's dangerous everywhere. He's got awesome volume on the feet, great cardio, nonstop pressure, and if the fight hits the ground, he has a slick submission and grappling game. Tatsuro Taira, he also has that slick submission grappling game to compare with Royval. But he's more calm and collected when he's in there. He started off as a grappling menace, and although that's still his bread and butter, he has been improving his striking, like we mentioned. I understand the dangers Royval brings. I understand that Tatsuro Taira hasn't fought 5 rounds before. I get it. But I'm not going to start doubting my boy Tatsuro. I'm not going to. I've been on the Taira train for a long time, and I will continue. Brandon Royval, I understand the danger factor that he brings. I get it. And this could easily be a Brandon Royval victory. He's got the volume, he's got the striking, he's got the pressure. But I'm not gonna doubt Taira until I see him lose. Yeah, people are gonna say, oh, he was losing to Alex Perez before he jumped on his back and ended up busting the man's knee. Okay? Knocked out Carlos Hernandez. He unanimous decision against Edgar Chairez where he got knocked down, almost submitted. Yeah. Jesus Aguilar, triangle armbar victory. CJ Vergara, armbar victory. Beat Carlos Candelario in his UFC debut. Yes, these guys aren't named. The name value isn't there, but it's not. It's just he's been impressive. I'm gonna stop rambling, but I'm gonna go with Tatsuro Taira. I think he's only 24. He's constantly going to be getting better. Constantly. I understand the danger factor on the Royval side. I understand the experience factor on the Royval side. And the fact that Royval has fought 5 rounds multiple times. And Taira hasn't. And he has the youth. And he's got the inexperience. But I'm not going to doubt him. I think Taira gets this done. How does he get it done? I couldn't tell you. Maybe he hurts Royval with his newly acquired striking ability. Maybe he's the better grappler. Who knows, dude? Who knows? But I'm going to go with I'm happy, thank you. I'm happy, thank you to get things done. That's going to be my prediction for this card. In terms of how many favorites I have, I don't know. I haven't looked at the odds yet for all the fights. But let's recap all of our picks. We're going with Clayton Carpenter, Cody Haddon, Junior Tafa, Themba Gorimbo, Jonathan Pearce, Ramazan Temirov, Jared Gooden, Abdulrazak Alhassan, Daniel Rodriguez, Julia Polastri, Grant Dawson, Junyoung Park, and Tatsuro Taira. Now, I do urge you guys to follow my Twitter, Limpy MMA, Limpy Bets, 2 Y's at the end of Limpy, because I drop my full list of picks for every single card on there before the event. I do it for Contender Series as well. And I also do confidence levels, where I usually parlay all of my high confidence picks, throw those together, and make some money. I'm also, NHL just started. NBA is around the corner. So we're going to be cashing out. So make sure you guys don't miss it. Follow me on Twitter. Make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and comment down below your thoughts on UFC Vegas 98. Thank you guys so much for watching my return video. I'm super excited to be back. I had a lot of fun breaking this video down. I'll see you guys in the next one.